Well, hello everybody. It's Regina again. I'm here on this platform, the Juice Radio and Talk Show. Jonathan, are you ready for today's church news?
Absolutely. Let's get to it.
Woo! I'm telling you, we've got a lot to talk about. I've got my fair use banner up there because we're going to show a video. For those of you who are
Okay.
just joining us, this is Thursday night church news, and we got something to talk about. Jonathan, are you ready for this?
Yes, I am. I'm excited.
Oh my goodness. All right, so the rest of the team should be coming in here shortly. They should be logging on shortly. And we're going to go ahead and get started because it's a lot we're going to have to cover. So there's this story that was coming out. Let me go ahead and put my little banners up here. Put all my little banners up. So there's a story of a pastor. Hey, Pastor Lorenzo.
Hey now.
All right, you ready for this?
Yes.
I know. So there's a story of this pastor. His name is Pastor Michael Jennings. Now, some of you may not even believe that this story happened, but this pastor, he lives in Alabama. His church is also in Alabama. And Pastor Jennings was arrested. And guess what? The reason he was arrested? You never guess. He was arrested for watering his neighbor's flowers. What you guys think when I sent y'all this story?
The first thing that came to my mind is here we go again. It doesn't matter if you're watering your grass while you're black, if you're driving while black, if you're having lunch while
Ooh!
black, if you're going to church while black, different things that regular things we do while black, we're subject to being arrested or we're subject to being detained or we're subject to some type of interaction with the police. It was ridiculous, and I was not shocked, but I was disheartened by what I saw. I'm so glad that the man did not get out of character,
Yes.
because it really could have gone very left, and I'm so glad it did not. Because he could have ended up dead instead of just in the back of a police car. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. And I don't even think that they explained why they were asking him who he was and why he was on that property. I don't think they ever got to that question why they were approaching the man to begin with.
Well, we've got the video. We're going to show the video on here as well. But it's all based on a neighbor's call, and we're going to talk about that also. Pastor Lorenzo, what's your thoughts on this?
So, I mean, I understand the anger behind it, and I understand how we feel like because of his color that had a lot to do with it, which I'm sure it did. But also, when I looked at it, I think it's a few things that he did. It's almost a thing of saying, since I'm right and I don't have to do this, that, and the other. I think he could have just said, okay, I live here. Here's my ID. Call it a day and go. I understand him wanting to resist and show that, hey, look, I'm the pastor and I shouldn't have to do this. But at the end of the day, like Jonathan said, he could have ended up being right, but he could have ended up being dead right when all he had to
Right.
do was show his ID and call it a day.
Yes, and we're going to talk about that also. And that's another reason why I love my panel on here. And this panel, because we all have our opinions, we still love each other, and we're going to voice what our individual opinions are. And Pastor Lorenzo, I agree with you, and I agree with Jonathan as well, because there's other sides to this whole thing. So we've got the light of the Leo Jennifer's in the house. Hey,
Hello,
Jennifer.
hello.
Hey Jennifer, we're gonna get your opinion on this real quick. But we got Joseph Jarrell in the chat. Y'all say hi to Joseph. Hey
What's
Joseph.
going
Hey,
on,
Joseph.
Joseph?
Joseph. Joseph says, "Good evening, everyone. What we got going on here? I know." That's funny. There's a TikTok guy. He does Florida videos, and he does that same thing. That's his tagline. What we got going on here? And then he does his Florida stuff. All right. So Jennifer, tell us your thoughts on this. We're all giving our brief thoughts on this before I run this video about this pastor who was arrested for watering his neighbor's plants.
I do believe that the bulk of the blame certainly does belong to the police officers because for them to make it seem as if he's doing something so horrible, I think it was worth them, just at least talking to the man, just to see what's going on, just to see, you know, you know, the backstory of why somebody is referring to him as somebody that is suspicious, um, rather than automatically going towards, let me get your ID, let me get this and that and the third. And also, you know, I did think it kind of pushed it for me when, you know, there was a nice Caucasian lady that was doing her best to explain, like, yes, we know exactly who he is. This is
We
his
gonna talk
friend.
about that too.
You know, it looks like he's, you know, just watering the grass. Thank God for, you know, somebody that's nice enough to advocate. Unfortunately, we know that some police officers would lean towards a Caucasian person trying to give clarity to a situation. But then another woman came up, yeah, that's my pastor, and things of that nature. But it's like, I really don't know where in the world and how. I don't remember anybody saying anything about this, but he said, if I arrest you, I can't unarrest you. None of that makes sense. Like, where did that come from?
It does make sense to me, and I only say that because on Live PD, I saw they were actually here in Richland County. The store owner called the police because someone was stealing from his store, and the police came. He arrested him, but then after the man was in handcuffs, the store owner sort of kind of changed his mind and was like, well, you know, you don't have to arrest him. You don't have to. I just, you know, kind of want him to get the point that he can't be stealing things. And the officer actually said out of his mouth, I can't unarrest him. So once you put someone under arrest, I believe that you can't, you know, take them out from under arrest, I guess, unless there's some change in the details of what has happened. But I've heard that on Live PD as well.
To be honest, it's one thing for somebody that's being violated say that he needs to be arrested. Now don't arrest him. No, it was that police officer's choice to arrest him.
Gotcha.
But now, didn't the pastor say something about he used to be a police officer or something?
Yes, he did.
And I think because of his knowledge of the law, he wanted to push that fact. Like, I know the law. And again, we have to understand we live in a society where knowing the law and being right is not always the top priority.
Right.
You know, self-preservation sometimes have to kick in. We know we don't like it. We know we want to stand on our rights, but you know, there's other things and steps that can be taken after the fact versus putting your life in danger. Luckily, I mean, when you listen to the cop, he never really was arrogant and nasty. He was like, look, you know, let's have a conversation. We don't want this to get out of hand. He really tried to keep consistently diffusing the situation. So you have to give him credit for that, because and even the one cop said, I think he even knew him.
Well, we're going to play the video so we can all get some more, you know, updated information. Because, you know, once you watch it again, you're like, okay, I didn't see that part. And we also want our viewers to be able to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this fair use banner up so y'all can see that too. And so I don't get myself, you know, stricken. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to play this. And I'm actually streaming this from, let me go over here. Is it adding? All right, so the internet is going kind of slow. I'm streaming this from the news. Looks like
like NBC News,
NBC Fox, one of those. Well, look at the title.
It says at the top NBC.
NBC. Okay, great. It says Black Alabama pastor says he was wrongfully arrested while watering his neighbor's flowers. And then it also says, so you guys get an update. Michael Jennings, that's the name of the pastor, was charged with obstructing government operations. Now, he was watering the flowers, but they charged him with obstructing government operations. So that's a problem right there. Where's the government operations, you know, on was lawn? But anyway, it says the charge was dropped in June. Okay, so the charge was dropped in June. So let me go ahead and run this video, and you guys let me know if you can hear it, because I'm gonna have to mute my mic. All right, let me know if you can hear it.
Are they saying that? Is that your vehicle? It's not. The neighbors.
314, I'll be on 13.
Can y'all hear it?
Yes.
You live here? Okay. They're saying that this vehicle is not supposed to be here, and you're not supposed to be here.
Who's saying it?
They called about it. I don't know who called.
I'm supposed to be here. I'm Pastor Jennings. I live across the street.
You're Pastor Jennings?
Yes, I'm looking out for their house while they gone.
Okay.
Watering they fly.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Now, do you have like ID and all?
No, man. I'm not gonna give you no ID.
Why not?
I ain't did nothing wrong.
Well, you look. Listen. Listen, I'm not saying do nothing wrong.
Doc, listen,
There's a suspicious person.
Look, I used to be a police officer in Goodwater. Come here with that. Okay?
Look, man, don't do this to me. There's a suspicious person in the yard, and if you're not one to identify yourself,
I don't have to identify myself. It's not a stop and identify state. That guy know me. He came to my store that got broke in. I live right over there across the street. Who calls y'all?
that's what we got to figure out. But
Yeah,
first,
who calls?
he
Black man
He
out
don't
here
live here.
warning his neighbor, "Father, you think
I'm not
doing
saying
something
nothing
illegal?
about.
You have no right to approach me if I ain't did nothing suspicious or nothing wrong.
Listen,
Told him I'm a pastor. I pastor, so I don't want to hear.
sir.
You want to lock me up? Lock me up.
Nobody wants to
Lock me. I'm not showing y'all anything. I'm gonna
What?
continue to run these flowers. I don't care who called y'all. Lock me up and see what happens. I want you to.
Hey, man, just come here and talk to us.
I'm
What?
gonna
What?
water these back flowers. What I'm gonna do.
Look, man, let me see your phone. Let me see your phone, dude. Just calm down. Okay?
No.
Stop.
I like this.
Okay. We're just trying to talk to you and see.
I don't want to argue with you, okay?
All right, go ahead and do what
I
you gotta
don't
do,
want to
Doc.
arrest you either.
Do what you got to do. Go on and
Okay.
lock me up.
Look, just have a
It's
seat.
You're
already
not
a
locked
lawsuit.
up, you're
It's
just-
already a lawsuit,
Yes,
Doc.
sir. Yes, sir.
It's already a
Okay.
lawsuit.
Just have a seat, okay?
Okay, already a lawsuit.
Do you know that gentleman back?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Does he have
He
permission?
lives right there.
Okay, does he have permission here to be watering flowers?
He may because they are friends. And
Okay.
they went out of town today. So
Right.
he may be watering their flowers.
Okay.
It'd be completely normal.
Okay.
And that's
Is that
fine.
that's fine. If he would have said, "Hey, I got this," gave his identification because he's a suspicious person. He said that's not his vehicle; it's their vehicle.
We have
Okay.
a call. Like,
Yeah.
we're here
Okay.
because we're called here. I don't know who called, but somebody did.
Yeah, he lives right there and he would be watering their flowers. This is probably my fault.
Okay. Who is Roy Milam? That's you, ain't it?
I'm Michael Jennings, sir.
You're Michael Jennings. Who is Roy Milam? Okay, that's who that vehicle belongs to.
Yeah, that's
Who
all I
lives
know. His name is Roy.
That's who lives here.
That's Roy. I call him Roy and call his wife Connie, and I've been dealing with him for 7 years that I've been
Yeah.
living here.
They are friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you called not because of the car, but because you thought you saw someone beside you.
Right. I didn't know it was him.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry
got to
about
keep their
that.
flowers watered. I got to keep their flowers watered while they
Okay,
down.
sorry.
You okay?
Listen to me, man. Listen to me.
We are
Anytime the
actually-
police come out and they say we want to identify you, you have to identify yourself because there's a reasonable suspicion. There's a reasonable man. There's a
That has to
vehicle.
commit a crime.
There's a reasonable suspicion that you're here. It's not a crime.
Yeah.
If you would have said, yeah, here's my name, here's everything, we
No,
were like,
I told
okay.
him my name. I
You
don't
didn't
have
tell
to
me
give
your
him-
name.
I decided he asked me who I was. I said,
You didn't give it to me when I first
Pastor
asked you.
Jennings. Pastor Jennings.
That's not a name.
But
That's a pastor.
yeah.
I need your
The way
name.
y'all handle this situation was totally wrong.
Well, listen,
You racial profile.
we're not
put it
racial
on him, but yes,
profile.
you did.
No, sir. No, sir. We're not about
I
that.
told
okay?
you I was here watering the flowers. but it's
How do
wrong.
I know that's the truth?
'Cause I
Anybody,
had the water hose in my hand. I was watering all the flowers.
anybody can pick a hose pipe up.
He is gonna be so pissed when I tell him I got arrested watering his flowers. 7
Well,
years
look,
we've been
look,
friends.
we got that. Look, let's sit back in here.
Okay.
You can sit down. Give me so we can get this going on the ball. All right. What is your social?
I'm not gonna give him a social.
You need to give me your social.
I'll give you my
Pastor.
name. That's all I'm gonna give you. You're not gonna run no 27 and 28 on me and get me in the system for no reason.
All right. What's
Hey,
your?
the girl already done told you who I am.
Okay.
I'm
Yes.
Michael
Yes.
Jennings. That's all you
Michael
gonna get.
Jennings.
Michael Jennings.
Everyone.
All right, people. So we've got that on there. My goodness, that's a lot to have to go over. Who wants to go first? Jonathan, go ahead.
I guess what I'll say now that I've watched it again, I see that this really could have been prevented. Absolutely, by him giving the police officers his ID, and I feel as though he's a man of a certain age who probably has a specific feeling toward law enforcement. Therefore, he did not feel safe when they approached him, which is the reason why he reacted the way that he did. And I completely understand that. However, because of that, that might be the reason why he ended up being arrested. I don't know if he still would have been arrested if he had complied from the jump, from the beginning. Again, it all goes back to who called the police first, but this could have been nipped out of nipped in the bud if you had just given them your ID to begin with. But again, I understand where he's coming from. He doesn't trust the police. I get it.
Right. Yeah, I get that. So, Pastor Lorenzo, what's your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think we have a lot of different things we have to take into consideration. I
Right.
think the culture we live in now, everybody's on edge. Everybody looking at cops as bad, so they're not taking a chance. But here we have a situation where I really don't feel like we have racist cops because they didn't come in with the guns drawn. They didn't come in screaming and hollering. And in all honesty, if somebody call and say they're a suspicious person, they have to do their job and say, well, we just got to verify that you are who you say you are. And then, I mean, I just think that there's so much going on. And then another thing that I kind of peeped out was he was really angry. And then once he said, I want you to arrest me so it can be a lawsuit. After that, he kind of like relaxed and was laughing and joking like, yeah, it's cool. It's all right, cool. So did you really want this? You know how people want that. They want that 15 minutes of fame. They want that viral stuff. So, you know, it's a lot of things that we have to look at when we look at this situation.
I get it. Jennifer, what's your thoughts on this?
And myself on mute. You know, I be thinking, what I kept on thinking is like, what was he doing illegal to be arrested? You know what I'm saying? And I do understand. It's like I just kind of wonder, like, why was it thrown out? What he was arrested for. Why was it thrown out? Was it because he didn't have to identify himself? Or, you know, I just don't, I feel like I need to like at least look into it a little bit more just to see exactly what's going on. But I certainly do agree with Jonathan. He already has, okay. One thing I do know about people, we all have our different experiences. We all have things that's happened to us, things that we have gone through, things that we have seen that have shaped who we are as people. And sometimes those things automatically have us to have a prejudice against people. So I certainly believe that he has dealt with his share of police or has been mistreated in the past. So it's kind of easy to understand why he would automatically act that way, especially when he knows he was doing nothing wrong. That's the worst thing. I'm not only is he not doing anything wrong, he's doing something very nice and neighborly to somebody, going out of his way to make sure somebody's plants are watered before, you know, while they're gone. And that would piss me off too, man. Like all I'm trying to do is do something really nice for my neighbor, my neighborly friend that I've been friends with for 7 years. And now all of a sudden I am a suspicious person.
Yeah.
I do think it would have been nice for him to give them some ID. And I do believe there's a possibility that it would not have gone as far as it did. But I understand why he felt the need to stand his ground as well. Because, you know, it's difficult out there in the streets sometimes.
I get it. I get it. I totally understand what Jennifer's point is also. You know, we can see both sides. We can, you know, we're that kind of panel. We can see both sides of it. I'm going to jump over to Pastor Lorenzo and then let me get this comment first. Tammy's in the chat. Hey, Tammy. She said he's standing there watering flowers. Why would he have ID on him? Good grief. I'm so tired of this. I'm dealing with ridiculousness at work. Man is minding his business. What was suspicious? Absolutely. I mean, I think that the person who called the police came out and say, "Oh, you were the one that called the police." I gotta look. I think that's. I don't know, but go ahead, Pastor Lorenzo. You were
if he said that or if they said who called the police. But I think another thing that everybody is missing, if he's been living in that neighborhood for 7 years, do he have an issue with someone that looked for an opportunity to call the police on him? Because if everybody know him, I mean, like where we used to live, my neighbor used to come over sometimes and work on the house and do stuff. And if we wasn't home, he would just go about his business. Everybody knew that was what he did. It's never been an issue. So I'm wondering, did he have a problem with somebody that they said, "Hey, here's my chance to try to get something started"?
Well, it's a lot, and it's a lot of possibilities. We don't know because he did ask who called, and the police officer said we can't tell you who called. I can understand, you know, for safety reasons, because people out here, they be retaliating. You tell them you the one that called, they knock on your door. So I understand that part. A couple of things I want to go over from this. when I'm looking at this again, one of the things he did say, he says he's not going to give his phone, he's not going to give his name because this is not what he called a stop and identify state. Now, I was talking with my husband over this, and this is something that's valid. In the instance of certain states, you do not have to show your ID if you're stopped by a police officer. Listen, but that's what I'm told. And the other thing, and he did say he was a police officer before, and he said that the one officer knows him because something that happened prior, and the officer know him. And then he said again, the pastor, when he got upset because he didn't want to show the ID, and he went into, well, just go ahead and lock me up. Go ahead and lock me up. I don't care. Lock me up. For me, start to finish, this is the way I run my life, and everybody's, is totally different. But if somebody comes over and I'm watering my neighbor's plants and they say, hey, I want to see your ID, if you're an officer, a real officer, I'm probably going to say, okay, let me go and get my ID. Because like Tammy said, I'm probably not going to have my ID in my wallet. I probably would go and get my ID because I'm just less for the stress. Let me go ahead and present this and show it. However, my husband, who's totally opposite, I still love him, he says, I'm not showing that officer jack. And I was like, why? He says, I'm not doing it because I don't have to. I was like, okay. And that's when he told me about the stop and ID stay thing. I was like, okay. But I just want less stress. So I would have probably just given the ID. And again, I felt like, the pastor was being a little aggressive, being that he is a pastor. To me, it just felt like he was being a little aggressive. I mean, I would think, okay, officer, if I show you my ID, is that going to solve everything? Are we going to be okay? Something like that. Being that he's a police officer, he had to know, okay, if I show you my ID, what's the next step? So I don't know. Maybe he knew something that we don't know. That's the reason why he didn't want to show the ID. I did pick up, however, an interesting chat that he had regarding the Social Security number. He says, I'm not giving you my Social Security number because you're not going to put me in the system and run a 27 and 28 on me. I picked that up and I was like, okay, hold on. He says, I'm not going to be in the system. So I'm learning from this stuff that we're reporting on. Now I know I don't have to give you my social because I don't want to be in the system either. So that's one point that I took. I do feel like the officers were being a bit aggressive because he was not complying, because the pastor was not complying. And sometimes the officer's ego can get in the way, and I think that's what was going on. But something other interesting that I saw on here was when the other young lady, the neighbor, the white neighbor came and she said, yeah, he lives right there. The officers did not ask her for ID. I thought that was interesting. You guys didn't ask her for ID, but you asked him for ID. And also, I don't think we saw this in the video, but the officer actually snatched the phone out of the pastor's hand because he had his phone in his hand. And I don't know if he was going to call somebody or something. And the officer snatched the phone out of his hand and then they put him in handcuffs. Now, like Jennifer was saying, she says, why would they drop the charge? Well, on here, it says on this story here, he was wrongfully arrested and the charge was obstructing government operations. There was no such government operation going on. So the charge was not valid. So it would have to be dropped. And then once the charge is dropped, now Mr. Jennings can file for the lawsuit.
And I pray he does.
That's exactly what he did. He filed for the lawsuit. It says in the story here, and we'll run this video here as well because he filed for that lawsuit. Let's go ahead and share this, and then we're going to continue this chat. All right, let's go here. Let's put this up here. Go back to this, Pastor. Oh.
Pastor Michael Jennings is walking out of Childersburg City Hall with a clear record.
It's been exhausting, and I just really hope that it's changed.
Last week, police officers arrested and charged him with obstruction while he was watering his neighbors, Roy and Connie Milan's flower bed.
Well, I'm glad that they did that. I mean, I still feel like they did an injustice to him for what they've done and how they handled it.
Childersburg Police Chief Victor McClelland tells WV1013 in a news statement today, A neighbor called them May 22nd to say she saw a suspicious gold SUV and an unknown person. While on the phone with dispatch, he says she couldn't see them anymore and believed they may be inside the house. He also knew the Milams were out of town. This is surveillance video from the Milams' home of officers questioning Jennings.
As soon as I told him, "Oh, you don't holler at me, boy. I'm a grown man," he said, "Lock him up."
It was really shocked. I couldn't believe that happened.
The chief says he watched and listened to the body cam videos, 911 call, and interviewed the officers involved. After a week, he recommended they dismiss the obstruction charge.
We know now that those charges were bogus, or they wouldn't have dropped them. So, but I would think that hopefully that the mayor and the chief of police would get involved in that and do something about it.
That's what I really would like to have. I would like to have a public apology from them.
You on mute.
All right. One thing that the pastor said on there, which I did not recall hearing, was he said, the officer said, "You don't holler at me, boy." I don't recall hearing it. He said, they said, "You don't holler at me, boy." And then he said they put him in handcuffs. Did you guys hear that part?
I did not hear that at all on the body cam footage.
Tammy says, no, they didn't ask for old girl, ask old girl for ID. They didn't ask the other lady for her ID either. So he did, he is going to press charges, but he said that he wants just a public apology. That's what, the pastor said he wants. What you guys thoughts on this?
I
can only hope. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I can only hope that the right lawyer comes into his life so that they can look into more compensation, because let's be real. I really don't believe that. Well, shoot, at least even the courts don't believe that there was any reason to arrest this man.
Yeah.
There was no reason. If you felt away, just tell them how you feel. No. What I was thinking is that maybe all they had to do was just let the man water the grass after he told him what's going on. After you got corroborating stuff from the woman across the way, said, yeah, he lives right there. Okay, all right, leave it alone. And then and then you can drive past again if you still feel like there was something to that. Come drive past just to see what else is going on, or just to make sure for your own sense. But let's be real, there was no reason to arrest him.
It wasn't. I think they were upset because of the pastor's communication with them. They weren't pleased with the way he was communicating with them. And I think the officers did get in their feelings.
And I also think they didn't like that, like most people that don't understand or realize that they don't have to show their ID.
Right.
I'm sure most people that they come across automatically show their ID when they ask, because you just afraid of the police and you just do what they tell them. Right. But he understood that he didn't have to. Maybe they didn't like that either.
They may not, and they don't too much like when people resist, what they're saying, and then know
even if it's law.
More than they do. They don't usually like that part either. But I do think that they could have said, okay, if you're watering the grass, we're just going to stay here a little bit. The watering the plants, we're going to stay here and watch you water, although police officers are not there to babysit. But like Jennifer said, they could have said, okay, we're going to come back around. Now, let's speak about this neighbor that called. I understand if the neighbor called, now maybe she didn't know the pastor. Maybe she doesn't get out like that. Because we do know that it was a she. We just don't know the name. So we do know that it was a female allegedly that called, and I understand calling because sometimes people are suspicious in your neighborhood. You want to call, hey, there's a suspicious person, take a look at them or whatever, But I really think the officers went too far. I think the pastor went too far with his attitude as well.
Right.
I think he was more aggressive than he needed to be. I think he would have to really have thought that if I'm a police officer and I'm coming here because you were a police officer before, put yourself in their shoes. What would you do? Would you have the same approach? How would you feel if somebody was speaking you that way as well? So there's a lot, but I kind of, I agree with all of you on the panel that it could have been handled differently. And I believe sometimes I think it was Jonathan started, but no, it was Pastor Lorenzo saying he could have ended up dead, because of your own attitude.
Right.
Just comply. And then if you feel you were wrongfully detained or something like that, then sue.
Exactly. There's like kind of a trend. I know I've seen quite a few videos of people who were accused of stealing, and so the police approached them and they asked them, "Just show me your receipt. Just show me your receipt." And the people, although they may have a receipt, they feel like there's a principle to it to where they should not have to show the receipt because they were actually shopping and spending money, and therefore they should not have had the police called on them, which was in their mind a racist thing to do. But to me, it's like just make it easier on yourself and just show them the proof that you were not stealing from said store. Show them whatever it is that they're asking for. Just comply with them. But when you are defiant towards that authority figure, do not be surprised when there is retaliation for that. I'm just saying.
They want to sue. Then they want to sue.
Right.
You know, I've seen some of those, videos as well. You leaving the Walmart or whichever store, whatever.
Right.
And they're like, okay, I think they stole something. I got my receipt. I'm not showing you my receipt. And the police come and you get arrested. Now you got to get a lawyer, and now you want to try and sue. And sometimes they get money, sometimes they don't. I just don't want all the headache in my life, me personally.
Exactly.
I just don't want it. Now I might have to bail my husband out.
But in this instant, there was no crime. There was no crime.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I feel like I'm with the pastor on this one. He didn't have to, as you can see, he wasn't in jail because he's still not in jail, or he's still not charged because he did not have to show his ID.
Yeah.
And now, once again, I do believe that he could have been like, no, I'm not going to show my ID, but this is what I'm doing here. And
nice about it. Yeah. Nice about it. Yeah.
I don't know how you can be nice about something, nice about that, simply because somebody's over here accusing you of doing something when you're just doing something out the nicety of your heart. Like, I would be upset too, but I guess you got to just try to hold your tone. I guess.
Well, Pastor was not being nice. We also.
But there's no way you could be nice. How can you be nice when you have police coming up to you?
When they initially approached him, Jennifer, his first response was not nice. It really was not. It really wasn't. He came at them a little bit sideways. It wasn't overtly disruptive, but it was not nice in the least bit.
The officers were being nice, and then the pastor threw in, oh yeah, y'all racially profiling me. I'm like, oh my God,
okay,
it's not. I don't know about that part. But Pastor was, come on, Pastor had his part in it. He was, his neck on his shoulder or whatever you want to call it. He was
head on the shoulder.
He really did have a chip on his shoulder, which again, I understand that that's because of who he is, his age and his circumstances. He's got his thing, and he's going to stick to it. And I understand that, but again, when that causes disruption, that's just going to make it worse for you at the end of the day.
Make it worse.
I don't know about his age. I don't think it could be like truly his age. But then again, some people have seen a lot. Some people that's 18, 19 have seen a lot as well.
That's true too. Yeah.
So, right, but that's what I mean by his age, because because of the experiences that he's had. He knows where this could go, and that's why he responded the way that he did.
And he's a former officer. I would think that he would be like, hey, I'm a former officer. I know how this goes, and I understand I don't have to show my ID to you. I'm just here watering my neighbor's lawn. I'm not doing anything illegal. I do know that I don't have to present my ID to you because of my background as a law enforcement officer. So, if you guys want to proceed any further with this, then I will go ahead and allow you to proceed. However, you do have to understand that I will be seeking legal actions if this does not go in the way that it should. Something like that. Nice.
Right. And the fact that he is an officer, he could have used it in two different ways, right? He could have used it in a positive way to say, hey, I understand you're doing what you're doing. You're doing your job. So let me go ahead and comply. Or let's use it as a weapon so that I can stop you or try to hinder you from doing what it is that you're doing, because I feel as though you are in the wrong. Again, when you go with positivity, when you go with what's the right thing to do or the best thing to do, things come out a lot easier. He did not have to use his previous experience as a cop to use it as a weapon. He was using that sort of as a weapon against them in this case, in my opinion.
I get it. We're going to come down to Pastor Lorenzo after we read Tammy's chat. She says, when do we have to stop bending to will of master and just show ID and receipts? That man was minding his business. He knew what was going down when those police came up to him.
My girl.
I knew Jennifer.
Y'all know Tammy over there in them hills of West Virginia, child. She know about that stuff, honey.
Right.
Yeah, West Virginia is different.
Tammy said, Pastor. Go ahead, Pastor Lorenzo. Comment.
I guess for me, because I came from a place where racism was very deep. Like I was born in the hills of West Virginia, so racism was something I've dealt with all my life. A few things. One is because of the culture we live in now, I try not to never go anywhere without my ID. It's just a thing I do out of habit because I just want to have my ID because I know how the system works. And being right does not necessarily mean you're going to get treated the way you should. Because see, I've been in this situation way back in the day, probably about 20 years ago. But that was before we had this culture of bad police. All the police are doing wrong. It wasn't so bad. And I had just purchased a home and I was moving. It was late at night, new in the neighborhood. No one knew me. They called the police and he came and said, look, we got this call. We're just trying to make sure that you should be here. Okay. And I told him, I said, my ID didn't have the address because I had just moved there. And I told him I'm moving in and he said, well, can you open the door with the key to show me that you have the key? I did that and he said, okay, we just wanted to make sure he left and it was it. But see, nowadays, something like that, I probably could have been shot.
Oh, yeah.
So different times. So, and I think because of all the different experiences I've had with the police, I've had them once I was living somewhere and they was chasing someone and the car ran to the apartment where I live. So while I'm out on the porch, they making everybody show their ID because they didn't know who was in the car, who wasn't. And, I'm like, this is my house. I just came out to see welcome. It's a car on my front porch.
Right.
But at the same time, I do understand now that we live in a different time. Right. And unfortunately, sometimes, and I understand the comment about bowing down to the will of the master and all that, because sometimes we get very frustrating. But then sometimes you just have to say, is it really worth the drama? Is the risk worth the reward?
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I get that.
And I also think about, I personally believe, in my opinion, that, all the stuff, with the killings and things of that nature, with the police, I believe it's always been happening. I just think that now we've been blessed with cameras and now, even the police have cameras and we have more access. And as we have more access, we have more of a lens to what's going on out in the world. Because, I know of people that have lost family to police brutality.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I feel as a country we know more and more because
we
of
have
those
cameras.
cameras, and now it's actually a story worth putting on the news because they know that people will watch it now. So yeah, I think it's always been happening.
So let me ask you a question, Jennifer, because I know you sometimes think a little different, and I see your facial expression. but I honestly believe that when Trump went in office with the mentality that he had as a leader, I really believe that sparked a whole new side of racism that we didn't see before.
I have
because
to agree.
Now they're more braver, they're bolder, because here's the commander-in-chief doing whatever, however. So I really believe that it helped to, people to get more deeper into their feelings than before.
I feel as though it allowed those closeted racists to peek out of the closet. They didn't totally jump right out of the closet, but they peeked out of the closet. It's a little bit safer for us to do what we do. It's a little bit safer for us to feel our feelings outwardly. It's a little bit safer because we have this man who doesn't care anything about what he does. He's just going to do whatever is going to affect him in the best way. And he is their leader. So, once your leader's, on the throne, then, you feel like you have leeway to do whatever it is you feel the need to do.
That's true. You'd
Well,
be like, okay, I can do it now. Tammy says they took off the sheets.
I personally believe, as far as the
I
police,
think they still got the sheets on, Tammy. Some of them still got them sheets. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Right.
okay, as my personal opinion, first of all, it's not that I don't believe there aren't any good police out there, because I certainly do believe that, and I've
Yes.
seen that myself. There are certainly great police out there, but the culture of not having to answer for things that they do out in the field, that was going on way before Trump even existed.
It's
So
just been amplified. It has been amplified recently,
Right.
when he came, but
and personally, I believe it's more amplified with the people that's at the house. You know what I'm saying? The people that would rather now feel more comfortable marching. But it's those police that are out there, they've been doing what they've been doing since forever. Since they were the captures of enslaved people. So I believe that's just something that's been going on. Just what I believe. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, it has been, amplified in ways because they feel more comfortable in those areas. But yeah, I'm excited to see what's going on, especially with, the FBI raids and things of that nature.
Listen, I am a comply type of person. I
Right.
do know when I do need not to comply. But I'm more of a, okay, let me just do it. If it's simple, I'll go ahead and I'll give you this and whatever. It's not going to hurt me. It's not no harm and stuff like that. I'm going to go ahead and do, because I just want to get home to my family safe. I don't want to have I don't want to have to call my husband and say, hey, you're going to have to come bail me out. I have to tell my testimony. I'm probably have to come on Light of the Leo show and tell my testimony. I was in jail. I went to jail once myself. I did. I ended up in jail. I was trying to leave an abusive relationship. I was married to a gentleman, and he threatened my life and the life of our daughter, who at the time was about 4 years old. And I had never fought back. Always had been taking this physical abuse from him. And when he threatened to take the life of my daughter, I snapped. And what I ended up doing was I ran in the kitchen, got a knife, and tried my best to catch him running through the house. Thank God he ran in the bathroom and closed the door, and I stabbed the door. And he called the police because he had his phone when he ran in the bath. He called the police. They came. I had put the knife back in the kitchen, and I was mad at the point. I told him, I says, you come out that bathroom, I'm killing you, because you are not going to take my life and my daughter's life. When the police came, they did not believe my story. They only believed his story. I ended up being arrested because I'm such an honest person. I said, yes, I had the knife because I wanted to protect my daughter. He's been beating me before. I have a lawyer, I'm trying to get a divorce because I had already, and that's another thing. I had already filed for divorce. I had to do it. I had to do it secretly because I was still living in the house with him. So because I had filed for a divorce, my lawyer already had the paperwork there. So, they booked me and left my daughter at the house. And I'm panicking in the back of a police car, wondering, is he going to kill my daughter? And I was the one that was arrested, ended up, my mother ended up, bailing me out the next day. My lawyer did get in contact with the officers and showed them, the paperwork saying that I was, had filed for divorce, and told them about the abuse and so forth or whatever. We ended up, go ahead and getting the divorce, and the charges were dropped on, me, and the records were expunged. I said all that because here's the thing. A lot of people go through a lot, and just that moment, that split second moment could be something that you may not wake up from. I mean, if I would have caught him before he got in that bathroom, I could have been facing life in prison, or something, So all of us have those split second moments where we need to take a moment and think about what we do before it gets too far. And like Pastor Lorenzo was saying, this pastor had an opportunity to not take it to that level.
Right.
And I'm hoping he does regret that part and not look at it as, hey, I told them, they didn't tell me. Because we all have in our lives have that moment where we have to say, I could have handled that differently. Even with my own story, I could have handled things differently. I knew the abuse was there. I could have left, long before that. I didn't have to go in there and get the knife. I could have just got my daughter, got in my car and left and never came back. But, we
Right.
all have things that we have to do. So,
Yeah.
Exactly. I think the best result in this case would be him understanding what he could have done differently to
exactly.
make this a better situation, to make it so that he would not have been arrested, so that if this does happen later on down the line, he can choose a different option.
And we have to use our stories and our life as examples for others. Like I tell people, these young girls now, because of what I went through personally in my life, and then having to go through the tumultuous divorce, being abused, physically abused, being verbally abused, all of that, having gone through all that, I try to tell young girls, it's not worth the argument. It's easier to just walk out if you can walk out. Just walk out, leave, never look back. You're not missing out on anything. And there's more in front of you that's behind you. So I think people should look at, and this pastor, hopefully he'll look at, this and try and help some other young person to know that, sometimes, a little cooperation can save the day. And now what he's saying he's looking for is a public apology. I mean, all of that because you wanted a public apology. You could have got a public apology on the lawn.
Right. Exactly. They could have apologized after you gave them your ID. They could have apologized for messing with you or coming to you or bothering you after you gave them your ID.
But I think that's part of the whole situation that he's dealing with. Anytime that happens, that's the first thing they have them to say you just want a public apology.
And
you hear that a lot of times.
Once you get that public apology, then you get that lawyer coming in again.
Exactly.
Right.
To get them.
Once they apologize, then that means in order to apologize, I have to confess or admit that I did something wrong.
Exactly.
Now I got to set up for the suit.
That's what that public apology is. And he's a police officer. He knows.
Yes.
Right.
That's what that public apology is. It's an admission of wrong. It's an admission of guilt. And so the next step will come, So I don't know. It's sad that it happened to him. I do understand he said he has rights. I understand that. I do understand the police officers, sometimes they got a little hot-headed. I do understand the neighbor, people are saying that the neighbor was nosy and so forth, but she was probably protecting her neighbor's house. She probably,
She thought she was, yeah.
Right.
That person
I just can't, because if he's a pastor, he lived next door. You see him a lot because pastors, they have a lot of stuff going. He sounds like he's well established and well known. So I don't. It's something else. It's a piece of the puzzle that we're not getting because it just don't make sense. He said 11 years. He's been there for 11 years. So I don't think it's the first time that they have went out of town and he's watered their lawn.
Right.
Here's a pastor's church I found online in Alabama. Here's his church here, and it does have his name on the front thing that you can see. It was very small. His church is called Vision of Abundant Life, and it does say on the bottom there, Pastor Michael Jennings. So he is an established pastor there, like he said, he is an established pastor there at the church. Little church. When I pulled that up online, there was another little church. His church is right here, and then there's another church on the corner there because Alabama, they have probably more churches than Georgia have.
Yeah. Two churches on every corner.
Too many churches in Georgia. But I don't know what happened with what's going to go further, but we're going to be following up on this story. Tammy says, no, she wasn't. Try to protect nothing. I'm sorry. Who is that? Which part is she talking about?
The lady, when you said the lady's trying to protect her neighbor's house.
Oh, the neighbor.
because the reason that logically doesn't make sense, because he wasn't doing anything to damage the house. He was just watering it. So there's nothing to protect the house from. Now, if he was trying to enter or break in.
She said she saw him first and when he was on the front, and then she couldn't see him. So he need to look at them houses that's down on that side because she couldn't see him when he went on the side of the house and stuff. So
because he had to water all the plants.
Right.
He had to water all around the house, all the
All
places.
in the house. Yeah.
And
Can't
then
miss
the
a spot.
officer now, and here's another thing: if you're going to know your neighbor's name, maybe we need to start getting the neighbor's last names also, because the neighbors ask him, "Who's Roy such and such?" And the pastor looked at him and said, "I don't know. Who is that? Who is?" And he said, "No, I don't know." He said, "Well, my name is Jennings." And then they said, "Well, who's Roy?" He said, "Oh, I only know him by Roy." So he could have easily said, "Oh, you mean Roy that lives right here?" But
right.
again,
That's
he was
not really uncommon though, because like me and my neighbor, I just know him as Garfield. I don't know his last name, and
That's what I'm saying. Do we need to learn the neighbors' last names now too? Because I only know my neighbor's first name.
But I don't think that would have really mattered knowing the last name, because they wasn't concerned about him knowing the name. They wanted him to ID himself. So knowing the name, I don't think that would have changed the situation.
We're talking about that part where the pastor asked him who is Roy, whatever.
Right.
So he got the name from somebody. But hey, this is a lot that happened. It's a lot, and we decided we'll have it over here on Church News to let you guys know. I'm praying that the pastor will be okay. Maybe his membership is going to increase, because every time these pastors get viral, child, they membership be growing. Their membership be growing. I saw this story on another YouTuber's page, and one of the commentators were saying, "Well, I hope pastor get enough money that he'll never have to have another church payment again."
Okay. Yeah, I heard that.
I was like,
yeah,
oh my
I just think I just hope at the end of the day that something stems out of this that creates a better dialogue between us and them per se, because that's what's needed. It's sad that as a pastor that this is the situation, and this is what some people would know him as, and to me, on the other side, I think what I see is a lot of attacks on people in ministry that is making them look like they're crazy or out of sorts or whatever. But if you take away the pastor, he's just a man who's saying, "Why are y'all coming at me like that?"
Right.
But people gonna say, "Well, as a pastor, he should have." But being a pastor don't mean that you don't want to defend yourself or you're not
living in this world.
A man.
Right.
And again, like Jonathan was saying too, sometimes people, because of the past that they have dealt with, their communication may be different. From like I haven't dealt with a lot of stuff that maybe you would, another person who's dealt with a lot of that stuff may, have a different reaction. I mean, living in Alabama is totally different than living in Florida, where Florida is, all different cultures and everything and so forth. Living in Alabama and even some parts of Georgia is totally different. So again, that era, that he may have had to deal with or situations, or even as a police officer, being a black police officer, the things that he probably had to deal with, from his past. And maybe that's part of the reason why he reacted the way he did. I'm glad that the pastor, thank you, Holy Spirit. I'm glad the pastor is still alive. I'm glad all the officers are alive. I'm glad his neighbors, came to his defense.
Yes.
I'm so happy about all of that. And I'm praying out of this story, like Pastor Lorenzo said, that there will be some sort of unity that we can come to, some sort of, new thing that we can come to that will help to do something better in the community that's there. So it's sad that it happened. I understand it happened, but that's part of what goes on in this world. And it's so sad to say, but we got to find a way to try and fix some of this stuff. But that's our church news. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. One whole story. And listen, our hour is almost up. We got 6 minutes. So we're going to let y'all know about our panelists here. Y'all can tell I'm kind of tired.
And that's okay.
It is A-okay, girl.
I know. I am kind of tired.
We didn't even get to talk about the crazy man trying to shoot the car for the police. He tried to. I don't know what the situation was that he went after this car. But that was crazy. I'm like, why are you gonna stand in front of a car? This man tried to run over you.
Yes. Did y'all? Yeah, I'll have to drop that link. Oh my goodness. Yes, that was on Instagram, I think it was, or TikTok. One of those things where the cop was out. I think there was another cop. He was doing something in his yard, and the people came. Somebody came and just tried to
run him over
their car. just run him straight over. He ran in his house, got his gun, the police officer, he was an off-duty police officer, and then he ran back outside because the guy that was trying to run him down ran into a tree. And then so the officer went inside, got his gun, came back out and said, put your hands up. The guy got back in his truck, backed the truck up, and ran down the police officer. Mowed him over.
And he just stood in front of him shooting. I'm like, you seen him back, and this is where I think again, police ego stepped in. You see this guy on try to hit you. You go get your gun. He backs up. You stand there. You see him going and coming towards you, and you still gonna stand there and stop. What make you think he gonna stop?
Well, what he did was he went inside his house, so he was in a secure place,
right?
And he came back out. He came back out of his house. Was a mess.
So he must have known him or something, because for this guy to come to his house,
right?
So it's a before story that we don't know. So whatever attachment or association they had, you know who it is. Go let them get him, but don't go back out.
It's a mess. It was a mess. It was a mess. Well, team, I'm so happy to tell you guys I got some surprises for you. You guys are going to be so happy. All right, so you know I have your shirts, and you're probably wondering, why haven't I received my shirt yet, right?
I wasn't
wondering. You weren't wondering? Well, come on, Jennifer. You should be wondering, why haven't Regina sent our shirts yet, right? With our great sponsor, which is Mason Designs, Mason Apparel Inc. He's out there in Florida. We're going to be getting his information uploaded. I'm still waiting for him to send the logo. So if you're watching, Israel, I need the logo so I can promote your business. He sponsored us by sending us shirts with our logos on it, the Juice Radio and Talk Show. And I was going to send them to you all. And I said, well, wait a minute. I've got to get a few more items to put in a box. Now, I was going to wait and let it be a surprise to you all. But I can't hold surprises like that. I just can't. So I'm going to show you what's coming along with your shirts. I did. Jonathan already sent me his address. He texted me his address. So I'm going to need Jennifer and for Pastor Lorenzo for you guys to text me your addresses. And for those of you who are watching, if you would like to have some of these gifts, you'll need to inbox me, request them, and we'll see if we can get you some of these gifts also, because these are great. But y'all ready? Oh my goodness. Are you ready?
Absolutely. I'm excited.
So along with your shirt, we've got two other things. So we've got.
I knew it. Yes. I've been waiting on my mug. I knew it was coming.
Now, those of you know, I usually use my little mug, but I decided I wanted to get you guys these large mugs, which you'll be getting these. I'm not going to put anything on. No, people said put the juice on it, but maybe later. But look at this. It has a lid.
Ooh.
Look at this.
Okay.
Cold or hot beverages.
Okay.
All right.
Little travel for the juice. Okay. The Juice Radio and Talk Show. So you got your large mugs. I think that's about 20 ounce. And then, are y'all ready?
Yes.
All
right. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You can never go wrong with a tambourine.
You get a tambourine. You get a tambourine.
Right.
Come on now.
So you each will be getting your own tambourine as well. Your beautiful mugs and your great shirts. They'll be going out to you this week. So you'll have your gifts so we can all do our tambourine moment. Avery, if you're watching, we have one for you also, and also for Tyrone. You guys make sure you text me your information so I can send it to you. You who are in the chat, if you would like one, please inbox us, and we'll see if we can get you some as well. But that's just my little thank you to you guys for always being such a great support for us. We're going to go ahead and get this channel up and growing. Ooh. Ooh.
Bless you.
Listen, coming twos or threes. So you'll be getting your tambourines and your mugs, you guys, and your shirts, and they'll go excited. Up this week. I'm so excited for you guys too. Thank you again for being on the panel, and I want people to know your channels as well. So if Jonathan, if you can let us know about your wonderful platform that you have.
Absolutely. My YouTube channel name is JoJo Speaks. Just type in JoJo Speaks into the search bar. My channel will pop right on up. I post videos every Thursday night at 9:30 p.m. with my co-host, my friend Mike, Jennifer, who's here with us tonight, as well as Tyrone, Jennifer's husband, my brother-in-law. We talk about hot topics and social commentary, again, every Thursday night at 9:30 p.m. Make sure you subscribe and share with all of your friends. JoJo Speaks on YouTube. Check us out, y'all.
I love it. And I'm going to be watching tonight. Jennifer, tell us about Faithful Warrior Ministries.
Yes, Faithful Warrior Ministries. We come together every Saturday at 10-ish a.m. And we're live, of course, on Facebook and YouTube. All you have to do is type in Faithful Warrior Ministries. And if you like podcasts, you can search for us anywhere that you look for podcasts. Just type in Faithful Warrior Ministries and you'll see the praying hands. And what we do, we read a devotional together. We talk about life and how we apply God's word and how we live having God with us at all times. And of course, we pray. Come and join us. Join the Faithful Warrior Ministry Prayer Family.
I love it. And Pastor Lorenzo, tell us about your platforms as well.
Well, it's Living in Grace Ministries, and it's every Saturday at 7 a.m., Jennifer. And we get and we minister the word of God. We don't minister what's popular, and our messages are not social media driven. We preach what God gives us to give. And the first and third Saturday at 6 p.m., it Takes the Village podcast come on, where we try to bring back the village, the village mentality back, where we help one another, where we can uplift one another, encourage one another. So we want to bring back the village. Oh, I can't get it right now. We want to bring back the village mentality where we help one another to excel.
There you go. You got it. And for those of you who would like more information on our platform, you can find our information on all of these streaming social media sites. We also have a website. It's at thejuiceradio.net. Do not put .com in there. You will get a whole different site. That's not ours. We also have an email if you would like to email us some information, if you like to be on our show or like to have us interview you, or if there's a story you'd like us to cover, go ahead and email that to us at thejuiceradio@gmail.com. I also want to take this time out to thank our sponsor, Truth and Triumph Ministries, for supporting the platform. Truth and Triumph Ministries is a church ministry, and it cares about telling people the truth so that they can triumph in life. Truth and Triumph Ministries, thank you for all your support. Our co-host, who's not here today, Avery Thompson, has a great book. It's called The Preacher and His Porn. It is a great read. You can get that at lulu.com. Jennifer, tell us about your husband's Tyrone's CD that he has out.
He has an awesome song called Groove With Me. It has, it's been infused with the great sounds of go-go, like your Chuck Berry's, like your EA? No. That was going to be so disappointed in me. But anywho, it's a great jazzy song with go-go influence, with him playing the saxophone over it. It is amazing. Go ahead and look for Groove With Me. He actually got 13,000 streams on Spotify now.
Oh my goodness, he's doing amazing. And I think he's working on another project, isn't he?
Yes, it's going to be coming out soon. It's I don't even know if he said it just yet, but it's coming. I ain't gonna spill no beans.
All right. For those of you who are watching, also, if you have not already subscribed to our YouTube or Facebook channel, you want to do that today. It's at The Juice Radio and Talk Show on YouTube and Facebook. Look for the red mug. You'll know you have the right one. Make sure you subscribe today to help us grow this platform. We've got a lot of stuff coming up, and we don't want you to miss out, and we want you to share the platform with others. Thank you guys so much for all of your hard work, your dedication, and your love and support. I'm so excited about this. Hubby and I are starting some new stuff on the channel here. We're doing our news segments that we're going to start doing. Let me tell you, it's a lot going on over here. We got a lot in the works. But I appreciate each and every one of you. We support each and every one of you as well. We're going to go ahead and get out of here because I know everybody's got a busy schedule. On the count of 3, we're going to say goodbye. Anybody have any closing thoughts, any closing words? Who would like to do the closing words of encouragement?
Oh, well.
Nobody.
Go ahead, I always like to say that in the midst of everything that goes on in the world, that we can still realize that there are good people, black, white, it doesn't matter the profession. The thing to remember is that the title of the person carried, there's good and bad people everywhere. Amen. So unfortunately, be it a cop, be it a doctor, be it a lawyer, there's good and bad, but let's look for the good in everybody and know that everybody has some good in them. Sometimes it's real deep, but let's look for the good in everybody.
That's right.
Amen.
Great words. Amen. And let's look for the good in everybody. Tammy says, well, I'm an unofficial member. I'll be expecting it. Okay, so Tammy's looking for her mug and her tambourine. Tammy, we got you covered. Don't worry. We got you, girl. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We're going to go in our back room here, and I'm so happy that y'all were on the panel today. This was great. Great show. We're going to have some more stuff coming up here. On the count of 3, we're going to be saying goodbye. Y'all ready?
Mhm.
Yes. 1, 2, 3.
Bye.